Hey guys, Pat here. Welcome to Box Office Addict, my weekly live stream podcast where we look at the weekend box office and break the numbers down. We look at expectations versus reality, how this affects the studios, the movies to come out later in the year, and so forth. And we also discuss movies here, and I just kind of talk with the chat, and you guys can ask me questions. And I'm a little late. Yeah, I'm a 1 minute late. Yeah, I saw YouTube was like, waiting for Please Rewind, and I was like, oh crap. So I had to run and start OBS. I only had like 30 seconds, but I think I was a little late, but sorry. I gave you guys a schedule on this one. Well, not a schedule, but I let you guys know that it was coming. I know I don't prepare you guys. I'm going to try to be more consistent and on a schedule with Box Office Addict, or as BOA, as we call it, here. So, yeah, but all of you guys who are following, and to the new subscribers, by the way, which there's a lot of, there's over like 2,000 of you now. Hopefully you guys are getting on the bandwagon and watching the show too, and there's new podcasts coming very soon. I have at least 2 podcasts that I'm planning right now with friends that are going to be coming out really soon, but we haven't figured out all the details. But I can tell you guys right now it's very good. Like, just doing some test stuff and talking, and it's like, oh my god, this is going to be the best stuff on this channel. In my opinion, I think the best stuff's coming in that future podcast. Anyway, this is Box Office Addict, and what we do here is we look at the box office. Well, on a good day. On a bad day, I just meander and don't stay on topic and go around. But I have a little bit of a structure here today. There's quite a few movies to talk about, and there's also an article I'm going to talk about that involves Black Panther and the projections for its opening weekend. Now, when we're talking about this weekend, one thing we have to bring up is that a lot of these movies are getting a boost from the Oscar nominations that came out this week. If you see, a lot of these films went wider this weekend that were pretty limited, or went wide at one point and went back to limited release. But these are films like Shape of Water, 3 Billboards, I, Tonya, Phantom Thread, Darkest Hour, Lady Bird, Call Me By Your Name. They all, a lot of them expanded this weekend. You'll see the posters will say nominated for these many Academy Awards now. They're trying to get that big boost. It seemed to benefit Shape of Water quite a bit, even, well, granted, the movie's in 2,000 theaters now. So, yeah, I'm not the world's biggest fan of Pacific Rim. Not one of my favorite movies. I don't dislike Guillermo del Toro, though. Alright, so let's start down low, and we'll work our way up a little bit. They also re-released Get Out this weekend after the Oscar nominations, but that just seems like a waste of time. That movie already made its money. And it's been out on home video for months. Why would anyone go to the theater again to see Get Out? Just seems like I guess just so maybe some people at the Academy could see it maybe before. Alright, let's skip a lot of this stuff. It's not really worth talking about. Wonder by Steven Chbosky is at $265 million worldwide. That's with a $20 million budget. I don't know what the marketing is, but I don't think it really matters with that film. Pitch Perfect 3, $179 million, crossed $100 million this week, and $102 on a $45 million budget. This is lower than the second film, but it's better than the first film, even though it has a higher budget. Pitch Perfect 4 is probably not coming out anytime soon. Call Me By Your Name received a few Academy Award nominations, not as many as I think people thought a few months ago. 11 million domestic, 17 million worldwide. This is a film that has a budget of 3.5 million, so they might make a profit off that if they stick with it. One of my favorite films of the year. Proud Mary had a 61% drop this weekend and is at 19 million and cost 14 million. So I don't see a big profit coming their way. Coco is at 680 million. Now this film cost 200 million. Some reports have said higher than that at 225. Still, even though the domestic performance is just okay at 200 million, it's just okay. They probably didn't even really break even domestically. The worldwide total is great. This should be able to reach 700 million if it can hang on. So this is a good performer, and it's one of the best reviewed animated films. It's probably going to win the Oscar. And yeah, where's that at on here? Coco. Wait, yeah, it seems like its run's coming to an end, but maybe they can. Maybe after the Oscars. Well, God, that's not till March, so who knows? Lady Bird from Greta Gerwig, 1.9 million, 41 million. This is A24's biggest movie domestically. 4 million opening weekend is what it had, and its widest release was 1,500 theaters, which might be this weekend right now that it's in that many theaters. No, it's in 1,172. But it went up 61%, so didn't get hurt. Darkest Hour, which has been doing surprisingly well at the box office, the Joe Wright film about Churchill, starring Gary Oldman, who's the frontrunner for the Oscar. There's those posters, people. 6 Best Picture of the Year, 6 nominated. You know, there it is. That's how they advertise it. But this film has made an impressive $45 million domestic, which is way better than I thought it would do. Did you like it? Did I like Coco? Is that the question? Why would you call someone by your name? Wouldn't that be confusing? Did you like Coco? Was it good? I thought it was alright. I didn't like it as much as some other people, but it's a good movie. I don't think Lady Bird's winning Best Director. I think Del Toro has that locked up at this point. I'd be shocked if Guillermo del Toro didn't win Best Director. I think Lady Bird wins Screenplay, though. They'll probably reward Greta Gerwig in Screenplay, but I think everyone would be utterly shocked if she won Best Director. 98 million worldwide, though. The 45 million domestic was shocking. I mean, I would have thought the best this movie could do is 30 mil domestic. I just underestimated it, but it's going to break 100 million worldwide, so good performance there. They did good on that one. All right, let's see. Darkest Hour. Phantom Thread. Paul Thomas Anderson, 11% drop. 10.6 million. This is his most recent film. All of his films in the last few years have bombed. Like your Oscar video. Thank you. Yeah, the podcast that I'm going to be doing soon is going to be more like that, where it's just two people talking and conversation. And just kind of... Yeah, we're just going to be talking about... Has pretty good action scenes. There's good action scenes in Darkest Hour. Even with the female thing. Well, I think that might be why Lady Bird wins Best Picture or Best Screenplay. But they've been splitting Best Director with Best Picture for a while now, like Spotlight won or Moonlight won. So I think Del Toro will win Best Director, but I think Lady Bird has a great shot at winning Best Picture and Best Screenplay. I just think directors vote in that category, and I just think too many directors who are predominantly male are going to vote for Del Toro or Christopher Nolan. I don't think they're going to vote Greta Gerwig. That's just my opinion on it, but it doesn't. I can't really see a world where they would vote. There would be enough votes for Greta Gerwig to beat Del Toro. Nolan can't win anymore, but Del Toro's he's way ahead right now. And director's one of the more obvious categories over the last few years. Like, the guy who wins all season long usually wins anymore. It would be great to see a surprise, though. Actually, though, that would be interesting. You're smart. You express your thoughts better than we can. A lot of us don't know the lingo. I mean, dude, that's not really true. I talk like a moron according to all the comments on the Star Wars videos. Man, I had a rough day yesterday, guys. I tried to make a video for you guys. I was going to make a video on the Black Panther box office. Couldn't get that to work. Hated the audio. Couldn't get anything to work in the editing. Find anything to work. So then I was doing another video that was... God, what was the second one? Sorry, I can't remember because I mainly focused on the last one. The second one was... God, I can't remember. It was me talking about something, some article or some story that came out or something. And I couldn't figure that out so much. So then I did a responding to comments video. And this is my second attempt at this. I recorded one of these before that was 2 hours. Because there's thousands of comments. And then I did one yesterday and it was like 30 minutes. And I couldn't get the audio to sound good. I've been having a lot of troubles lately with my audio. A lot of my stuff freezes up, and it's just been very inconvenient, honestly. It takes longer than it should. But yeah, I had like a 30-minute video ready responding to comments, and I couldn't upload that, so I haven't been able to really get a video up. I'm sorry. It's just been a hassle. I really been wanting to upload and maybe even some shorter content, like 8-minute videos, but it's just the equipment hasn't been on my side, and my computer's been really screwing up. Alright, so Phantom Thread. Paul Thomas Anderson's other films recently, like Inherent Vice and The Master, are all really disappointed after their openings. But Phantom Thread looks like it might be able to make a little bit of money, but I believe this film cost $35 million or $30 million or something, so I don't really see a world where this makes a big profit. PTA continues to not be a mainstream pool. I, Tonya. 18.8 million, 2.8 million weekend. It's in 960 theaters. I don't think this weekend was 2.8 million. This weekend was 2.9. This is doing pretty good. It's not like doing great, but it still has momentum. It hasn't totally slowed down yet. But, you know, where's the top-off point? I'm not sure. Insidious, The Last Key from Lee Winnell, who wrote the original Saw movie. This movie is making crazy money. This movie's made $63 million domestic and $144 million worldwide. If you actually look at Chapter 3, it made $112 million worldwide and $52 million domestic on a $10 million budget. So this is that rare fourth film that's doing better than the previous films. In fact, this might be able to even pass the second film's worldwide box office if it can keep making this much money. But it doesn't really need to. This is the second highest grossing film out of the movies. And the budget's not that much higher than the original. So once again for Blumhouse, who Jason Blum being nominated for the Oscar for Get Out. He's having a great 2017, 2018. Okay. The Commuter, $3.4 million. This film is not doing that great. $31 million domestic, $59 million worldwide. Liam Neeson action thriller. Not really as popular as it was, 8-9 years ago. Looks like The Last Jedi fanboys want your blood. They definitely do in the comments. I mean, it's not just that. It's not just people attacking the like the me. It's attacking the videos, which I have no problem with. There are problems with those videos. Some people talk about the hypocrisy on the Raylo one, but I was trying to explain that the hypocrisy is the video. That's the concept. Like, it's hypocritical on purpose. That's what the Kylo scenes are in there for. And when he calls me a cynical jerk, like a lot of the stuff that's contradictions is on purpose. But if it's not conveyed, then that's my problem. But yeah, I think some people said that like you don't use enough lore and substantiate a good argument. You just kind of ramble and rant these boring rants where it's nonsense and stuff like that. And I agree that a couple of them are that way. I'm not too proud of the Raylo video, but I think the Luke video is pretty good. And I think the Luke and Snoke video are pretty good. And I don't really have much issue with the Finn video, except for a couple things. But hey, Pat, it's just me, or Pacific Rim 2, Great Wall, Seventh Son of Warcraft. Is Legendary Pictures turning into a bomb factory? Yeah, I mean, they've been having that issue for years now, Legendary. They have off and on for a while. There was a point there where it had a really good win streak going, but I love Darkman. Can we have Darkman back? Just ignore the other sequels. Sam Raimi's Darkman. Good choice. Liam past his prime, you think? Or maybe the format of his latest films? I don't think it's past his prime. I just don't think I think it's it's just gone. That kind of action film that he was doing that was getting popular, things are different now. We have like John Wick. Taken was like the first step to doing that kind of stuff in the mainstream again. And then now we have now we have better choreography and better fight scenes in movies and stuff like that. The novelties kind of wore off, seeing the old Liam Neeson beat people up. And the scripts weren't as good. He only made like 2 movies that were really decent. Everything else, it got worse and worse as it went on. But it's not like Liam Neeson has anything to prove. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, I saw this film this week, and I am trying to plan a review with my friend because we both very much like this film a lot. And I also want to tackle the criticisms and the backlash on this movie, including the New York Times piece about this movie and the Sam Rockwell character. This movie is currently the frontrunner for Best Picture. It's won everything it needs to win, but there is a major backlash politically against this movie. This script that was written 8 years ago, but I believe it's a misinterpretation. Let's see. I can't imagine the time it takes for you to produce the podcast into a week. It's not really that hard. It's just time. I have a job, so I don't do. If I had more free time, I would be able to work on stuff more. But I only have like a few hours every day to do anything. So if you do a podcast and you record, then you have to go edit audio, and then you have to put something together, to not just make it, nonsense, So it's tough. But the new podcast is mainly going to be conversation based. It's going to be me and someone else just talking. And the conversation can kind of meander and go wherever, but we're going to stay on the subject matter, at least of like what genre we're talking about, what kind of filmmaker we're talking about, art in general, literature, what it means to us, how we perceive it, and how it's affected us, and how we're living through it, and it's going to be a very interesting show, I think. But this is going to be one of the first things we really talk about, because Martin McDonagh, I'm not quite sure how he pronounces it, but it's spelled, looks like Martin McDonagh. He's a acclaimed playwright, and he wrote the great In Bruges and then Seven Psychopaths, and this is a film he wrote years ago, and he couldn't really figure it out, and he didn't really make it, and it's the closest to feeling like a play out of any of his work. I won't spoil my review here, because there's a lot of stuff I wrote down for that review, and we have a lot of things planned out, so I won't overstate it, but I have quite a review for this movie and a lot of little tidbits to talk about, and how a lot of the criticism is a misinterpretation of the fantastical elements of the movie, taking it as a very literal film. It's like they're watching Manchester by the Sea, and they're not realizing what they're actually watching, which this is one of the best comedies to come out in the last decade. This is one of the funniest movies. If you had a Patreon, we'd give you money to hire an editor and save you time. Yeah, but it's just a hassle, you know? Like, I could edit, I just don't have the time. I know I could, hire an editor and give the guy money and he could do it, but it would be, a lot of it's instinctual, you know? I can't just give someone notes and say, hey, here you go. Are you going to do your Convo podcast to the same guy or a different guest? Different people. Scumbag, who I talked to in the Oscar thing, we're going to talk sometimes about certain things. I'm going to be doing a separate show with someone else, and then I'm thinking about doing like an interview show or a show where I bring in different people. A lot of YouTubers. I have at least 6-7 YouTubers that are smaller, but they want to come on, and I really like their videos. They make good content, and I think they need more attention. So we're going to come on and just talk about certain things. I used to do that. If you go back to my old stuff, like I interviewed Foxler, the famous furry who I brought on to defend himself, and I talked to my friend Dan. I used to bring people on, and we would just have these 2-3 hour conversations about stuff, and they were really fun. And I just quit doing that after a point. But no, I understand. I just don't think the channel's big enough to get to that where I should do the Patreon and give people and let people edit for me and stuff like that. I just don't think I only have like 6,500 subscribers. It's not or 6,700 or something. I don't know where it's at now. But it's not. I don't think it's big enough to warrant all that yet. If I get up to like 20,000, sure, I'll probably spend a little bit more time on it. But until now, crossovers. Yes, I love crossovers. Well, I just want to bring in people I think would be interesting to talk to. I'm kind of sick of hearing my own voice so much because I have to do so much of this, and I don't think I have a problem. I think I have the gift of gab, but I'm better when I'm in a conversation than when I'm just by myself throwing things out. So, and I think a lot of interesting things come out when I get to go down this like thought process and this thing with someone, and we find stuff together. So I'm just gonna bring different people out and see what comes out in the conversation. You know, these like 2-hour little podcast live streams, whatever they're gonna end up being. Probably a lot of them are just gonna be recorded separately, so I can edit the audio. But we're just gonna talk back and forth and see where the conversations go, and hopefully it's entertaining. You know, I really like the podcast, How Did This Get Made? I'm hoping that we can get some kind of chemistry and stuff going on this. But I do want to interview people and talk to people and talk about movies and directors and stuff that's not talked about anywhere else on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff that's never discussed. Certain decades of film are just never talked about on here. So I want to cover stuff, but I love this movie, and this is a great update for this movie. 37 million domestic, which is pretty decent, but that foreign update of 34 million. This film's made 71 million worldwide, so it's probably made a profit, even though somebody probably bought it, and then you have the distribution. But yeah, I don't know where the worldwide total will end up, but if this can end up making 100 million, if it does, that'd be an impressive performance. So I'm rooting for it to win Best Picture against Shape of Water, so I hope it works out. For Terminator 6, should James Cameron replace Arnold with a different actor to play the Terminator, like, say, Dwayne Johnson, in order to bring back the box office appeal? I think he needs to cast... God, who's fully cast in Terminator 6? Do we know? Besides Arnold? Is there other... Because, yeah, you're going to need to cast somebody who has pull. They tried to do this with Christian Bale after Dark Knight, but it didn't work. But, yeah, and I like Christian Bale, but, yeah, he just wasn't... He was really bad at Terminator Salvation. It was just a bad movie. That movie just sucks. I don't totally blame him. But I think what you could do with God, let me read again. Terminator. I think that you need, maybe not The Rock, but like whoever's the main cast in that movie, you should probably cast some big names in there, one or two. But I think that movie has a good cast, doesn't it? They cast some good actors in that film, right? I don't know if it's a cast that'll make bank, but you don't necessarily need that. My problem is I don't know how much interest there is for Terminator in America, even with James Cameron attached to it and the Deadpool director, Tim Miller. And even if it has a great trailer, I think Terminator's just dead. Not internationally. But domestically, is anyone into Terminator anymore? I mean, the last one couldn't even make $100 million. I'm not trying to crap on it, but I just think Terminator interest is gone. Like, I just don't really think people... Oh, yeah, Linda Hamilton is in it. Yes, it's Terminator 3, yeah. Yeah, it's, but yeah, I just don't think people are... Even if it's her in it, I don't know. I don't think it's The Force Awakens. I don't think the Terminator franchise is Star Wars. I don't think it's like one of the... I mean, look at Blade Runner 2049. Like, I don't think Terminator was a film that many people held on to after a certain point. Like, they loved the first two movies, but I don't meet a lot of people who love Terminator 3 and 4. Some people like the Sarah Connor Chronicles. There's some video games, but yeah, the Terminator franchise, it never... I don't know, it just feels like it's done. I mean, they probably made more money on the Universal ride. All I could assume. But yeah, I think The Rock would be awesome. Actually, The Rock as a Terminator sounds like an awesome idea, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, like give him very little dialogue. He just comes in as a Terminator, because we haven't had a big guy Terminator since Arnold. You know, a lot of the Terminators are thin, like Robert Patrick. But it would be cool to have a Terminator again that's like a huge guy and really intimidating that you really buy. Hey Pat, was that your friend in your Raylo video? I remember you had a friend that looked so similar to Adam Driver. Yes, that was the friend that I was talking about previously. That was kind of the payoff to the setup earlier. We're also me and him talking about doing the Kylo show. You're focusing on the wrong thing with Terminator. The problem was never the cast, it's the bad scripts. Swap Bell out for The Rock. You really think Salvation... I'm not saying it would be a better movie, but the opening weekend sucked. People didn't know the script was bad when they went to go see Terminator Salvation. There's just not that much appeal for the Terminator franchise. People aren't that excited. I just don't think they are. I don't think there's a lot of hype for it. I don't think younger people care about a new Terminator movie. I don't think the brand stayed relevant as other brands did. I don't get why they keep bringing it back. But me and my friend want to do a show called The Kylo Show, where he's Kylo and I'm kind of a guy who's sent to take care of him, and it's kind of like The Office. It's going to be awkward documentary stuff. But I'm a big fan of... I really like Adam Driver, and I like Ezra Miller. And we always make jokes. We're like, you look like Ezra Miller or Keanu Reeves' son or Adam Driver. So I put him in the video because I thought that would be funny. I'm sorry that he didn't talk, but we were trying to make it like this mental thing. But he did a really good job. He did the voice. He worked really hard to get the impression down of sounding like Adam Driver. He watched interviews with him. And we spent a lot of time... Because I wanted the joke to be when he takes the mask off that he looks like Kylo Ren. I could have had him the whole thing, him wearing the mask, and we could have talked back and forth, and it would have worked better. If he'd had the mask on, then the audio being dubbed over would work totally. But when he takes the mask off, that's what's funny to me, is him wearing the sunglasses and he looks like him. Because why not use that? Everyone else is just going to film Kylo with the mask on. My guy actually looks like Kylo Ren. I don't need to have him wear the mask. My guy actually looks close enough. But the idea is the Kylo show, where, yeah, I'm like Toby and he's Michael from The Office, basically. And it would be him playing Kylo, and it would just be him going crazy every week. And me having a very terrible time. Put The Rock into a Terminator movie with the same quality scripts as T3, Salvation, and Genesis, and it would still suck. I mean, yes, it would. But it might make more money because The Rock is a bigger movie star than the people that were in any of those movies. Genesis had Jai Courtney in it, and Daenerys Stormborn, who's not a big star outside of television. Salvation only really had Bale, and that film had really bad marketing. And Terminator 3 actually did make a lot of money, it just cost too much. Even Genesis made $450 million worldwide. You got to think about the international appeal of The Rock. Like, he could be in a crappy Terminator movie, and it would probably still make $600 million just because The Rock could bring in so much more box office from the world. Awesome. I'm so sorry for what Ryan did to Kylo. Have you seen where he put his face? You made the same mistake like TFA. He took off the mask. Yeah, I know I did. I did make that mistake. I know he took the mask off right away. No, he bought that mask for the video. And he told me, how much am I going to wear that? And your voice sounds like beef stew. Huh, I don't know what that means. But he told me, he said, I bought this mask, how much am I going to wear it? And I said, you're only going to wear it for like 5 seconds. You're not going to wear it anymore. Which made me feel like a jerk. Arnie made a great bad guy. He did. You know who else made a great bad guy? Arnold, back when scripts were worth a crap. You seem to think that a good script means a movie makes money. The Terminator franchise, so many movies that make money are terrible movies. A movie doesn't have to have a good script to make money. That's never been the thing ever. I wish that's how it was. But no, yeah, Arnold was in a lot of bad movies that made money with bad scripts, you know? But yeah, I wish that people just saw good movies, but even Avatar I don't think is a very good movie, and that made $2.7 billion. Force Awakens made $2 billion. You're not a jerk. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I understand why now. You would think it would be weird seeing The Last Jedi, knowing how your friend looks so much like Driver. I already got over that because it was weirder back in the day when I saw Girls, the Lena Dunham show. Yeah, Transformers is a perfect example. Three of those films made like $1 billion, and they're awful. Pirates of the Caribbean 2, 3, 4. Script means absolutely nothing for success. Unfortunately, I wish it did. But most people don't give a crap if a movie has a good screenplay. But what happened was that show Girls, Adam Driver plays a guy who's dating Lena Dunham. Oh my god. And he lives in this crappy apartment, and he like plays guitar, and he never has a shirt on. And he's really weird. And my friend, he lived in a shack, basically. That guy, Sharkfoot, who does the music for my videos, by the way, is Kylo. That's the guy who does the music, Sharkfoot. He lived in like a really crappy a place he paid $200 a month rent, and it was a shithole. It looked terrible. It was awful to be in, and he would always be in there shirtless, in his jeans, like Adam Driver, like playing guitar, and he talked and acted just like that character on Girls. And I knew him for a few years like that. Like, he would come back from work and he would be at, like, his shack, basically. We called it a shack. It really wasn't a shack, but it basically was. And then he would act crazy. I mean, it was like knowing Jim Carrey or something. It was nuts. And then Girls started on HBO. And I turned it on and I go, what the hell? This is exactly like my friend. It's exactly... It's him. I mean, it's the same dialogue, mannerisms. It was so creepy how similar Adam Driver and him were in that show specifically. And at the time, I said to him, you know what, dude? One day, dude, you're gonna, if that guy gets famous, Adam Driver, because he was the only thing about Girls that really worked in that whole show. I was like, if he gets famous, people are gonna look at you on the street and be like, you look like that guy. And then lo and behold, Star Wars, he ends up being Kylo Ren. And I'm like, dude, everyone's gonna know you're gonna kill somebody. And he killed Han. So since that movie's come out all the time, people come up to him and they're like, they said at least he's been talking about how he killed Han. People tell him he killed Han, and people say hey Kylo, or they say hey Keanu sometimes, but he mainly gets Kylo Ren anymore. But my opinion, he should have played Kylo Ren in the tent flashback scenes. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying you could see him playing that. Think about him if he was the younger Kylo in the tent. Favorite psychological horror movie? I don't know what do you mean specific, because I would count The Exorcist a psychological horror, but it's also a horror movie. So I'm not exactly where to put that in, but there's a lot I like in that genre. Hey Pat, apparently because of the Fox buyout, Disney will likely have the live-action film rights to Dragon Ball. Oh boy, I can't wait for that. Sure am excited. Maybe Adam Driver is actually some kind of lost long sibling of your friend. We've had that discussion that my friend's dad probably banged some chick back in the day, and Adam Driver's the bastard or something. Girl sounds horrible. The show, it's got a good first season, I would say, the first season and a half, but it's not worth watching. He could do birthday parties. Adam Driver, Daisy Ridley, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill gave the best possible performance that a crappy script could pull, and it made a lot of money. Definitely. Well, I'm not sure if Daisy Ridley gave the best possible performance that she could have given. I guess for her, that was the best. I don't blame any actor for The Last Jedi or Force Awakens. You can't blame them for that stuff. That's he could do birthday parties. That's so funny to think about. Him going, hey kids, I'm Kylo. Maybe we'll do that in the Kylo show. He'll go do a birthday party. Hey guys, this is what... Hey, that one guy said my voice sounds like beef stew. I was thinking about it. That's like a good smoothing podcast thing. Like, hey guys, this is Pat, and welcome to Beef Stew. So grab your beef stew and come on and we'll talk about the box office. Just some good old beef stew. Or that movie Strange Brew. But yeah, beef stew. The good old beef stew. Beef, you know what's great about beef stew? You buy a can of it anywhere, you buy any crappy beef stew, and you're gonna have a crappy shit afterwards. But it always tastes good. If you like beef stew, you can get good beef stew anywhere. It's one of those consistent things. It's like tomato soup. It's not that hard to get tomato soup you're satisfied with. John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. Love that movie. That might show up on Underrated Classics. Yes, very creepy movie. Love the ending to that movie. It's got one of the scariest endings. RIP sarcasm detector. It had 2 days until retirement. We need to get rid of those sarcasm jobs. Have you seen the casting couch video with Daisy and J.J. Abrams? I think I did. A long time ago. Did you see the casting couch video? No, I didn't. I would love to see that. Yeah. You'd have to send me that one. Forever My Girl. Oh, by the way, go see 3 Billboards. It's great. Forever My Girl. $3 million, $9.2 million, $3.5 million budget. I don't know what the hell that movie is or what. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. I don't care. Quite frankly, I don't care. Star Wars. The Last Jedi. $4.1 million, $610 million domestic, $700 million foreign, $1,311,425,821 worldwide. Beef stew is so good, saying that your voice sounds like it is a compliment. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got to start this podcast, Beef Stew. Guys, welcome to Beef Stew. I really like beef stew. Hey, get out of here, chicken broth. This isn't your show. I thought the Infinity War trailer was very good. Because I thought it brought a sense of awe back to the Avengers films and the Marvel films. Because that's what Age of Ultron's lacking. Age of Ultron lacks a sense of awe that the first Avengers has. And I'm not saying that, that movie's good or bad if you like those movies. But the first Avengers, what did make it work at the time is that you went to go see those people team up. It was fun to watch Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man fight. And then Age of Ultron, the new characters they introduce are Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And Ultron's a terrible villain. And it doesn't really feel fresh again. It doesn't feel like you're seeing anything new. So in Infinity War, in this trailer, what is interesting about it is it goes back to that Avengers crossover thing. There was no crossover setup really for Age of Ultron. We didn't get a Quicksilver Scarlet Witch movie before that. So Civil War didn't even do this. Civil War introduces Black Panther and Spider-Man. They didn't have a movie before. Those movies both feel overstuffed because of this. There's an overstuffed feeling to both of those films because they introduce these new characters within the film. And it takes away from dramatic focus. But with this film, what are they doing? It's a crossover between Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor meeting them, and it's Doctor Strange meets the Hulk. It's Spider-Man's in it now. all of these have been established. We got the Doctor Strange movie. We got the Guardians franchise. So now when these characters are crossing over, and what that trailer gave was the sense of the first Avengers film, where it's like, wow, cool, Thor's meeting the Guardians. Or, oh, cool, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Bruce Banner are all in the same place together. That's awesome. I didn't know I wanted that, but I do want that. So, and seeing Spider-Man and the Spidey sense goes up and he sees the Thing. Yeah, Age of Ultron's just a really messy movie. But this film has that dramatic focus the first one had. Well, maybe not dramatic focus, but the hype focus. Because the first one is just like, holy crap, I can't wait to see all these characters together and how they meet and interact. That's the excitement about this movie. I can't wait to see how Chris Pratt plays off, or Rocket Raccoon's going to play off all the other people. I can't wait to see how Doctor Strange is going to play off everyone. I can't wait to see Captain America with the beard come back and he's hanging out with Black Panther. That's the difference with this movie. That was not in the other two Avengers films that were introducing, except maybe Ant-Man showing up in the airport sequence. That's like the best part of the movie because his character was set up, and that's like a payoff to the setup. This movie is the payoff to everything. Like seeing Iron Man get punched by Thanos is a 10-year TV show coming to its finale. You know, we're coming to a series finale. So all those movies that may have been mediocre or just kind of meh, or all the films that weren't as good as, say, Winter Soldier or the first Iron Man, this movie is the one that could be the one that we've all been wanting this whole time. The one where people die. I like Civil War too. I just think it's overstuffed. This could be the one where people die that we care about, like Captain America or Iron Man. This could be the one where the villain's actually scary. This could be the one where this could be the one where it all feels like payoff. Like, they don't really need to have much plot and story in this movie. They honestly just need to have a bunch of things happening to these people and them trying to figure out what to do with it and really commit to the things that are going to happen. I mean, if they kill Iron Man in Infinity War, that'll be awesome. That would be awesome. If they just brutally killed Tony Stark, if he just died, and it was up to Peter Parker and like Doctor Strange in that group and Bruce Banner to do all the Tony Stark science stuff with each other. I mean, it'd be great. I would love to see the new team take over. I'd like to see how like Black Panther, Spider-Man work together to be the new Avengers. And kind of the passing of the torch movie is what Infinity War could be. I agree that it looks overstuffed, but the great thing about it is that they don't have to set any of these things up. That's what I was talking about. The first Avengers, they didn't have to set up a lot of these characters. They just were able to throw them together. Outside of Black Widow and like Hawkeye. But Black Widow was even in Iron Man 2. Age of Ultron, they don't need to give us backstory on Black Panther. They don't need to give us backstory on any of the characters in this. They can just start Infinity War and do a story. They don't need to say, hey, let's show what's Peter Parker's doing. We don't need to know Peter Parker's life. We know we got the movie. Black Panther's going to be out before the movie comes out, so we'll have a history of Wakanda. I think Captain America will die too. If he dies, that'll be great. That'll be great drama. But that's the thing. All of these characters, we don't need backstory in this movie. That's what made the first Avengers work. Was that Joss Whedon didn't have to do that. He could just come in and make them hang out and talk. This could be a movie where it's just great conversations between all these actors that are just playing off each other for like 2.5 hours. And it being two movies, even though it's one separate movie each, that'll probably help with that overstuffed feeling. Because I was worried about that too. But I think the Russos are going to like probably do one kind of story in this movie, and then the second one's a whole different story. It could be disappointing, but I think this is the cards the cards are on the table. They have it. They have everything in the right hand. Because I think this is what Kevin's been planning this whole time, was something like this. Because I agree. The camera in Civil War doesn't. I agree. It's like why does it get all these angles? What is this? I don't think Spider-Man will die, but I think Captain America might die in this movie, and Iron Man could die in the next one. None of them want to die. That's the problem. Everybody wants to renew the contract. I saw articles though where they were saying like that some people weren't coming back. Like I read Chris Evans said he was going away, and so was like Robert Downey Jr. said he's coming to an end too. Like I believe Scarlett Johansson said she's leaving as well. I think 3 or 4 of the actors have all said that they're going to leave after another movie. My dinner with Thanos. I wanted Death to love me, but she wouldn't love me, and so then I had to get the Infinity Gauntlet so everything could be perfect. Don't you understand? It was that moment that mattered. No, I will not listen to that, Thanos. I cannot listen to that. I refuse to listen to that. What you say is ridiculous. Spoilers, Thor will die and Cap might die more, but Strange will use the Time Stone to send Tony back to the first Avengers to do something. I think they will play with that. Infinity War doesn't look fresh to me. I've seen it already. I mean, I guess. I've seen stuff in it before. It looks like a Michael Bay movie, but I've never seen something like this where it's 10 years of movies being made and then people are going to die after 10 years of spin-off movies. I mean, it looks like a lot of blockbusters, but... What's Scar going to leave for? I don't know. I hope Infinity War 2 is more in space. I would love a space movie with Marvel with all the characters. 1.3 million, though. This film is not going to come close to The Force Awakens, which made $2 billion, almost $2.1 billion. And 936 million domestic. So this is one of the biggest sequel-to-sequel drops ever. Now, nobody expected Last Jedi to make as much as Force Awakens, but most people were saying 1.6 billion, like Jurassic World. Or they were saying, well, it'll do as well as The Avengers. And it's not even doing as well as Age of Ultron worldwide. The domestic total I don't think is disappointing. 610 million is a beast of a domestic total. Of course it wasn't going to make Force Awakens domestic total. So there's nothing wrong with that. This is one of the biggest domestic totals ever. What's confusing is this big drop in the foreign. To go from like 1.1 billion to 700 million in those markets seems weird. You would think that the international numbers, if anything, would have gone up. Yeah, I am worried they're going to bring people back with the Infinity Gauntlet, because they do that in the comics. In the comic books, they kill every character off during the Infinity War, and then they just bring them all back. But I swear I read an interview where Kevin Feige or Feige said that wasn't going to happen. He said they are killing characters off permanently in these movies. Like, they are not bringing them back. Because I thought that too. I thought, well, aren't they just going to bring Captain America back if they kill him? But if they legit kill Cap and make, like, Bucky or Falcon the new Cap, that would be the most fresh thing they've done in years. If they actually killed off one of the main... Especially Cap, because he's the first Avenger. So killing him makes the most sense, too. It's the end of the whole journey. Oh, yeah, Brad Pitt would be awesome in some super movies. But, yeah, this is a big drop. That 700 million, though, like, that's just... Don't get me wrong, that's a huge total. Like, that's a huge number, but it's weird. You think this film could have made 900 million. I don't know, honestly. What was your opinion on The Last Jedi? I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Where's Jurassic World? Yeah. Yeah, God. Everything's lagging. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Yeah, Jurassic World made 1 billion foreign and 652 million domestic. So that's quite a bit above The Last Jedi, and it had a lower opening weekend. Now, domestically, they're doing on par with each other, but that international total is a lot better. And that's funny, too, because that's Colin Trevorrow, and he got fired from Episode 9. And then you look here, and yeah, then you have then you have his film made more money than Last Jedi. So, that's a weird one to think about, actually. Pat, have you seen Use Your Hands to Fix 7 Keep Talking movies? Use Your Hands to Fix 7. I don't know what to fix 7. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Pat, have you seen the vid where someone edited old Star Trek episodes for a Tarantino Star Trek movie? No, I haven't. But I would like to see that. Remember when everyone died at Doctor Strange and he brought them back because he does magic? That's one of the only cool parts of the Marvel movies, though, is when Doctor Strange does that time travel thing and he keeps reversing time. Keep talking. So, China stopped showing The Last Jedi. Yes, it did. What's your opinion on The Last Jedi? No, thank you. We're avoiding that. Remember when everyone died in Doctor Strange? Maybe they'll offer him a rehirement package. Listen, we need you to come back. We thought Ryan was the guy. Critics loved it, but we need your 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, 1.6 billion. Colin, we're sorry. If you appear to kill someone off, they should stay dead. Do you like 3 Billboards? I love 3 Billboards. I think Three Billboards is a wonderful movie. Let's look at Jurassic Park box office. The original one. I want to go check that real quick. Now, this got re-released a few years ago in 3D. Its original run, I believe it made like $950 million. And it was the highest-grossing film till Titanic, but yeah, 626 foreign and 402 million domestic, and 1,030 million. Now, adjusted for ticket price inflation, I'm sure that film is ridiculous. Yeah, 843 million. Now, they are including the modern box, but even so, that film would have made like 700 million. So, even when comparing this to a lot of the other blockbusters that The Last Jedi is competing with, at least domestically. Hey there. They stopped showing The Last Jedi here. Oh. Doctor Strange is going to bring back some characters, but there will be some deaths that will be final. That's what I assume, too. I think some characters will stay dead. Top 5 of the year. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it. I guess I'll give you guys a rough outline of what my top 5 of the year are, because I want to do a video on that. Top 5 of the year right now off the top of my head would be Good Time, Three Billboards, Dunkirk, Blade Runner 2049, and God, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of some other movie that I really liked this year. Maybe Columbus by Coconada. I remember really liking that film. 63 million for Jurassic Park. Yeah, that was the budget. I mean, that was a pretty big budget in 1990. What was it, 3? But they used that budget amazing. That film looks like it cost like looks like it cost 130 million dollars. Hey Pat, is it just me or are AAA game devs trying hard to compete with the mobile game market with the transactions? Probably trying to cling on to relevancy. That makes sense. The Color of Money is one of the best sequels ever made. Do you agree? Yes, I do. I think it's very overlooked. In particular, PTA had an interview where he talked about the performances that kind of when he was getting wanting to work with Tom Cruise and Frank T.J. Mackey, and he talks about the character in The Color of Money and Rain Man, and you can see Frank T.J. Mackey in Rain Man and in The Color of Money. You can see that character a little bit in there, and I think that's one of Cruise's better moments. And I freaking love Paul Newman in that movie. He's incredible in that film. It's both a great film and like kind of it's disappointing too. There's some things about it that could be better maybe, but it's a really solid flick. And it's the most beautifully shot movie with Poole. The cinematography is just wonderful. If you want to see Poole visually look great, he shoots it because it's Scorsese. What are you gonna do? Yeah, my girlfriend's uncle. He's a real pool shark, and he has this whole basement done up with pool tables, and he has all these posters and pictures up for movies going back to I'm talking old movies here. He has like some of the God, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, but I got the Where of London scene on my channel. But then he has The Color of Money as Tom Cruise there in one of the pictures, like this black and white picture of Tom Cruise. And that was awesome. Pat's new series, Let's Eat with Pat. Tonight, beef stew. That's right, people. That beef stew and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Beef stew all over my face. Good night, Seattle. What does everyone think about The Last Jedi? What do we all think? I don't know. I don't think anything anymore. Mission Impossible 6 was crap. The name was The Mummy. Here's the thing, though. If Mission Impossible 6 was a mummy movie, I challenge you that would be a better movie. Like, if it wasn't The Mummy, if that was just Mission Impossible, if he was just Ethan Hunt, and they made a Mission Impossible movie, and then supernatural elements come in, yes. Hell yes. Just like Predator 2 is great. I don't care what anyone says. Danny Glover's awesome in that. And if Mel Gibson was in that movie and it was Lethal Weapon meets Predator, holy shit. Oh my god. Best movie ever. Best movie ever. Imagine if Mel Gibson was in that. Oh my god. He's doing Three Stooges stuff to the Predator. Knock, 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 knock. The Predator... Oh my god. Come on, kid. You did a real good job. I miss you, kid. Yes. Oh, I want it so bad. Hey, Pat, did you hear the latest on Solo? When it's released in China, it'll be under another name. Ranger Solo. Leaving the reference to Star Wars outside. I love that title, Ranger Solo. Hey, man, did you see Ranger Solo? What, do you mean Solo? No, man, Ranger Solo. That's the title in China. God, do some research. God, you're always obsessed with just America. Learn something else about other cultures and people, man. Yeah, Predator 2 is amazing. Yes, it is. Predator 2 is so overlooked. It's awesome. I love it. But I want it to be Lethal Weapon... Lethal Weapon 3 and 4. Let's just get Predator Lethal Weapon. Alternate history Titanic movie where the crew is abducted by aliens. Yes. Yeah, I should write a screenplay for that because they're going to make that. Alright, guys. This is what we've all been wanting. Lethal Weapon and Predator. We're going to bring the two worlds together. What do you think of Fire Walk With Me? Fire Walk With Me? You mean one of the scariest, most awesome, misunderstood, beautiful, perfect films that's ever existed? What do I think of Fire Walk With Me? Well, I think as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life, and I realize that David Lynch was one of the best. But hey, I'm just a film buff, so why listen to a fool like me? I don't even know anything about history. But I caught that movie on TV, and all you other little filmmakers should want to be like Lynch. Dog. Yeah, but Fire Walk With Me is awesome, and it's got one of the scariest scenes ever. Fire Walk With Me. Laura Palmer, man. And Twin Peaks Season 3 went totally back to Fire Walk With Me. It was like so... I was like, holy crap, I gotta go rewatch that and be more familiar with this. One of David Lynch's best films. Completely misunderstood at the time. Lethal Predator. Oh my god, yes! Lethal Predator. That's the perfect title. Oh. You know, I was really good at shooting. But I've never fought anything like this before. Just Mel Gibson hamming it up. You imagine the Predator torturing him? Like he's electrocuting Mel Gibson's nipples. And he's like... I mean, God, it would be amazing. The Predator, like Danny Glover's like, I'm too old for this shit. And the Predator, like, subtitles says... Fire Walk With Me and Showgirls is a great double feature. Yes. Yes, it is. It's absolutely terrific. God, now I just want to watch Fire Walk With Me. It's so good. It's got this almost... It's so innocent. It's so innocent. And the innocence makes the implications of the horror and Laura Palmer's tragic life even worse. It's that perfect mix of what Lynch brings from that 50s idea of suburban America and the darkness underneath. But it only is the dreamlike quality that's hinted at in Blue Velvet, but he takes it to the full level of surrealism and phantasmagorical stuff. I mean, it's truly a wonderful work. On the subject, what did you think of Predators? I thought Predators was an okay movie. I thought it was okay. That's about it, though, in my opinion. New Predator this year, right? Yes, there's a new Predator, and it's done by Shane Black and Fred Deckard, I think's his name. He's the guy who worked on Monster Squad, Night of the Creeps. I think he worked on the screenplay. But yeah, I believe it's Shane Black's working on that movie. Fire Walk With Me was awesome, but the return depressed me to hell. I just wanted at least a bit of a nostalgia trip, and I got blue-balled. Dude, that's what it was about, though. David Lynch did it on purpose. Like Season 3 is about nostalgia, and we need that commentary on nostalgia. It was telling you that we're all so caught up in nostalgia, and then as he said, no, I'm going to give you something new. And he gave you a little bit of that nostalgia, but the whole thing was about his career. It was like a thesis on his work, and it was about nostalgia and how we view the past. I mean, at the beginning, what do they say? Is it the future or is it the past? Right? Think about that. That's really played with in Season 3 like that. You're wanting to get these things. You want the past. But it's the future. but it's also the past at the same time. And it's David Lynch trying to explain, at least emotionally, his emotional depth of what he really means. And it's across all of his films. It's definitely a lot of the stuff he was going to use for the Mulholland Drive show, and you can tell it feels like that show he was going to do. And sometimes it feels less like a Twin Peaks follow-up. And I definitely wanted more Cooper, too. I just had a conversation about this last night. I was very upset how much Dougie's in the show. In particular after, like, episode 11. But the challenge that David Lynch set out about we shouldn't rely on nostalgia and these things. We should try to do new things and expand these things and challenge ourselves more. And if TV's weird, everyone's like, oh, things are better now. He was showing, like, no, I'm going to set the new standard, just like Twin Peaks set the standard back in the 90s. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you didn't see season 3. My bad. It's kind of tough to spoil Twin Peaks season 3. Like, if I explained a minute of it, you would go, what? There's nothing to it's crazy. It's absolute nuts. Want to get nuts, Disney? Let's get nuts. After leaving Drew Barrymore, the E.T., the Dragon Slayer, I don't understand what they mean by fans. Usually something has to exist before it has a fan base. Huh. I actually thought Predators was decent. I did too. The David Lynch message certainly sounds far more profound than Zack Snyder's political commentary in Batman v Superman. I mean, a child reading a book to you, a picture book, is more profound. Twin Peaks Season 3 is like tantric sex. It is. It's very zen. You can tell that meditation. Do you ever see Danny Boyle's Trance? Yes, I saw it once. Beautifully filmed. Really wonderfully put together and acted. Weird script. And kind of like, yeah, I don't know if I like the ending at all. I'd rather watch a really good movie than invest time in a television show that I'll watch only a few times and never touch again. That's an interesting point of view. Are you excited about the new Dune coming out from Denis Villeneuve? Yes. Ash vs. the Evil Dead is one of the best shows on TV. I don't like the first season. I hate the girl and the side guy, but the show gets better in season 2. Apparently, the Netflix CEO has recently called critics disconnected from fans when referring to movies. Are any thoughts on that? I think critics have always been disconnected from the mainstream. That doesn't mean that I don't agree with film critics, but film critics have never been the... They've never been like the people that decide whether a movie's liked or not or successful. That's never been the standard. In fact, a lot of movies that we all love now that we know are classics, critics hated when they came out. If you go back and read reviews for a lot of classic movies, they got ripped or got mixed reviews, and now everyone loves them. So, critics are very much of the time. They're people that have a social media following. They're a blogger. They're a talker. They're not really any different from any of us. They're just somebody talking about movies, yet they have this idea that they have some kind of power, that they mean something, like they're J.J. Hunsucker, like they're one of the, like they control how people feel, but they really have no impact at all, and they haven't had an impact on anything. Wow, you thought season 2 was the best part of Twin Peaks? That's crazy. I don't even like Dennis, and I'm even interested to see his Dune film. Would you watch The Empire fight the Avengers? I mean, I guess I would. It sounds like that Patton Oswalt movie that he said in Parks and Rec. What studio is Dune happening at? I can't remember. I did know that. E.T. Star Wars canon. I'm saying Marvel. What if movie crossover? With E.T.? What is your interpretation of the Apollo symbology in The Shining? I think it's Kubrick trolling. It's just him trolling the audience. He put it in as a joke. Because despite what a lot of people think, Kubrick had a devilish sense of humor, and he put that in there to be funny. Now, that is intentional. I think it's totally intentional, but I think it's all there to be funny. He's just trolling. That's a modern term, but back then he's poking fun. He's having fun. He's having a laugh at the audience's expense, because ultimately it doesn't affect the movie. Film critics have watched too many, while ordinary people have watched too few. Well, here's the issue with being a film critic, and I can tell you guys, if you ever go to a film festival, and you sit at a film festival, and you watch like 30, 40 movies sometimes in like 2 or 3 days. You sit there and watch a crowd. I mean, I had a few days, I remember I watched like so many movies, and you get so burnt out. Clint Eastwood talked about this at Cannes, but you get tired. You see so many movies, and you go to a screening at 10 o'clock in the morning. Then you go see a movie at like midnight, and then you go see a movie at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you don't get a lot of breaks. And And I'm not saying film critics have a hard job, but you get burnt out. You just go see so many movies, and most of them are bad. Like 90% of the movies that come out are crappy, and there's a lot of movies now, so you come out and you're just like, oh my god. And that's how it was for me. One film festival I went to, I was there for 4 days, and by the end of it, I hated movies. I was so angry, and I didn't want to watch anything anymore. My ass hurt, and I just got tired of it, because you just get burnt out, and I think that happens to a lot of critics, and they kind of lose sight of just going to watch the movie, review it, write your stuff down, and move on. It's not hard to be professional, but it's hard to consistently be emotionally invested in what you're doing. I think Sicario 2 looks interesting. I don't know how it's going to work out, though. Probably fans become critics by traumatic movies, something similar like Batman v Superman. Seeing a lot of movies at festivals sounds like a lot of fun to me. It is and isn't. It starts off a lot of fun. Like the first night you go to a film festival, like on the first night you have a great time. You go out to the bar with everyone, you drink, you watch a bunch of short films, amazing short films, and then you watch a couple movies and you're like, alright. Then the next day you get up in the morning, you go see movies, you do it again. And you're like, alright, great. And that night you go out again. Then you go do it again. And then that day you get up and you're like, oh my god. Then you start seeing a lot of bad stuff, and then you start walking out of movies you don't want to finish. And then you have to stand around and wait for a screening for something else. And then you're there again, and then you have like the next day, because these things go on for a few days. They don't just last like one day most of the time. And yeah, and then after about 4 or 5 days, yeah, you're tired of sitting in that theater or those theaters and watching those movies. And it's just too... I mean, I'm sure it's more fun to go to like maybe a Toronto or something like that, but most film festivals I've been to, despite the parties, the actual going to setting and watching the movies becomes very, it's like anything, you just get very bored doing the same thing so much. You end up sitting in a chair a lot watching movies. And after a while you're like, oh my god. Hard to believe anyone would drop another $200 million on another Villeneuve sci-fi opus. I agree. It is so crazy that guy gets money and his projects don't make nearly the profits. I'm confused too. He must have a really great agent. And I love Denis Villeneuve, but it's like Paul Thomas Anderson. How does he keep getting money? The Dangerous World. That's a dangerous world. Yes, it is, folks. Alright. I don't know what this movie is. Any of you heard of this movie? Is this like from... It's in 324 theaters. I don't... It's... Oh, is this that movie where like it's just music and dancing and montages? Yes. There's like a series of these, isn't there? Where it's just like 2.5 hours of like a music video. That's like an IMAX movie, isn't it? Yeah. I thought critics normally collect the check from Disney and get told what to say. Oh, jeez. Worst film festival experience. That's a good question. My friend and me went to one, and he drove us there. He was the driver. And it was, he ran into a girl there that he knew in high school. And it was a girl that he liked in high school, and she was like flaky as hell. Like she'd become like, she seemed like an acid baby. And she was with this guy, and they were both, I mean, these two people were like as zoned out as you could possibly be. And he, I don't know why, he just wouldn't, he was just such a, my friend was just, he was just insecure, so he just wouldn't stop talking to her and like hang out with her even though she was with this guy. And it was a screening for a movie that night that we were going to watch. We were there for a midnight screening. And they kept hanging out and being there, and he said he would give them a ride home. They asked if they could get a ride home after the screening, which was going to be like 1:30 or 2 in the morning. So then I said to him, I said, well, hey, did they like walk here? How did they get here? I asked very simply like that. I wasn't being like, I just asked him like, did they like walk here? So he turns around to me and he goes, well, it's my effing car, so don't ask me about it, F you, and I'll decide what I want to do with it. So he walks away, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I go out to the bar out in the lobby, and I'm just sitting there drinking, and I'm just drinking, talking to this old guy. And this old guy starts talking to me about life. I mean, this guy's old. He's like Philip Baker Hall old, right? He's sitting there telling me a story like he's trying to have a Sydney thing with me, like I'm John C. Reilly. And he starts asking me about my life and my future and what I'm planning to do and going to college and all that. And I was telling him how, like, I owned a business and I wanted to make movies and I saved money up to pay for my own stuff. And very, very practical, very basic, economic life conversation, life choices. And he told me he had his head screwed on right, that I had my head screwed on right, And the old guy that told me this story, that he's sitting there as a bartender. He said, my father was a shoemaker. And I go, a shoemaker? And he goes, yeah. And he said, a shoemaker. And I went to college for 4 years because I didn't want to be a shoemaker like my father. John C. Reilly, right? Yeah, he was in Sydney. He was the mega. But he tells me this, and he said I didn't want to be like that, like my father. So he said I went to college, and he said I got a degree, and he said, now look at me, I'm doing this. As he gave me a terrible screwdriver that tasted awful. I believe the orange juice was brown. While this is happening, the Boondock Saints, all three of them. This is Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flannery, and Rocco or whatever it is, the guy who tells the Coke story. They're walking around the corner because they're at this festival. Rocco comes up to me and he talks about the screwdriver. And he's like, that thing looks like shit. And I go, it does. So he's looking at the old guy and he's like, dude, what the hell's with the drink? And the old guy's talking about how they don't have good orange juice and liquor. And I'm like, what's with you? And he goes, I used to be a bartender, man. And he's like, that looks like shit when they put it out of the shooter like that. You're not supposed to have the orange juice out of the shooter like that. You need to have the orange juice separate and put it in. Because I like screwdrivers, at least when I used to drink more. I was a big screwdriver drinker. And I'm like, all right, dude, I guess, yeah, you're right. I mean, this is expensive. A lot of times when you go to, like, a film festival or, like, a musical thing and you go to the places where they have the drinks and food, it's pretty crappy. They're kind of ripping you off. But you do get to drink and sit in a movie theater. That's pretty fun. This was an old theater, too, like, from the Ford. Like, this was a classic Warner theater. So Sean Patrick Flannery's doing, like, an Elvis impression. I'm kidding you not, this was happening. Sean Patrick Flannery was doing an Elvis impression while this was all going on. So they walk off, they're talking to people because everyone's coming up talking to him. So I go back into the room and my friend's looking for me. He comes back up to me and he's like, dude, the Boondock Saints show up everywhere. Yeah, you can meet like Norman Reedus anywhere. So they come up to me. He comes up to me. He's like, dude, where the hell were you? He said, what happened? And I go, dude, you're being a freaking dick. I go, you yelled at me because I asked where they walked. I just asked you, did they walk here? He interpreted it that when I said that, I meant we shouldn't give them a ride home. So I was saying, well, they could walk there, which is not what I was asking. Also, it was freezing at the time, so I didn't assume that. So he starts like getting pissy, and he's like, well, why'd you ask then? I'm like, dude, I just asked. It was curiosity. I'm just curious. I'm sorry I asked a question. I was like, me and you walk down to that sub shop every day to get sandwiches in the afternoon, and it's freezing, and that hobo guy always comes up and asks us if we have weed, and I have to tell him, like, no, hobo guy, I don't have weed. That happened every day, too. The exciting adventures at this film festival. So then I come back, and yeah, then I stand around, I'm not pouting, but I'm standing there like, man, fuck this. I'm like, I am leaving, screw this. I'm gonna fucking call a cab and get there. Like, screw this guy. Like, we came here together. We came here together. We paid the freaking money together. We have a hotel together. It's like, I'm not putting up with your stuff, man. I'm not doing this. So, maybe they had a bad day. Yes, this is what I'm trying to explain film festivals. We were together too long. This was after like 3 days of spending all day together. You just start clashing. It's why couples fight. You spend too much time together. So I'm just standing there like, man, F this. So I'm about to leave, and he's there talking with these other people. And he runs up to me, and he's like, dude, listen, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry that I jumped on you about the car. I'm just sensitive about stuff. And he's like, I'm freaked out about this girl, and she's flaky now, and I don't know why. I'm still talking to her and doing all this stuff. And I go, yeah, dude, she's here with her boyfriend. I was like, what is this? So we stay till 1:30 watching this late movie, and then we leave, and we take her and her boyfriend to, like, this ghetto. They live in the crappiest part of town. So we dropped them off at like 1:40, 1:45, and she starts freaking out like, oh my god, where's my book? Where's my book? Where's my book? Where's my journal thing? That stuff that I wrote my stuff down. And we're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, and the guy she's with is like just wacky as hell. He's there talking about the weirdest stuff. He's got like a fro. He looks like Nick Jonas, except he weighs like 100 pounds. He looks like Timothy Chalamet or something. And they start, where's the book? Where's the book? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where the hell it is. And they're like, we left it. We have to go back. So we have to drive back to the theater at like 2 in the morning. They're closed. And this was a far drive, like 25 minutes. So, because then we have to go back to the hotel. So it's very inconvenient. It's a lot of going from here. So we go back, and we're banging on the thing, and we're trying to get the janitor to come open the door so we can have her go look for her book with that guy. And we're like, can we come in and look for the book and everything? But we can't get anyone to come to the door. So then we go back out. We get in the car. We drive around, and then we take them back home again. And then they start looking through his car, thinking it's in there. And I keep trying to explain, it's not in their car. It's not in the car. Why would it be in the car? It was like a journal or something. I don't know what it was. She wouldn't let it drop. She was obsessed with it. I don't know if it was some poetry book or something. This chick was just wacky, man. I mean, I'm talking like, she acted like Phoebe from Friends, but not in a comedic way, like the scary stuff. So then he drops her off, and we're in this ghetto at like 2:30 in the morning, and my friend's looking at me, and I'm like, why the hell you jumped down my throat because I asked if they walked here. And I said, because of this, we've been screwing around for like an hour over some girl that you knew in high school that hasn't thought about you in years. Which I know was a mean thing to say, but I was pretty pissed. So then he's like, all right, dude, fine, you know what, let's just go drive around, we'll talk about this. So we drive around and we keep talking about this because me and him used to get in these fights. He was like he would yell at me all the time about little things. Like if we were at the bar and I would tell him to do a shot, he would just go crazy on me. He's like, don't try to convince me to drink, you a-hole. You know, I'm like, okay, Jesus, man. When I was young, I was quite the drinker. If you wanted to drink with me, you had to keep up. It was like we started hardcore and then worked our way down. So he says, let's go see the lake. Okay, let's see the Great Lakes. In October, November, it's freezing, and he wants to go see the Great Lakes. He wants to show me the Great Lakes. He said, you've never seen it. Let me show you Lake Erie. Let me show you this beautiful thing. Are you still friends with this guy? Yes. Not as close. We used to be like best friends years ago when he went to college in the area I lived in. And then he graduated with a journalism degree, and he went to go get a job somewhere else, so he moved away. But we're still friends. It's just we don't live near each other anymore. We used to live like 20 minutes from each other, 15 minutes. Now he writes for a newspaper or something like that. I can't remember where, but he's in like the other side of the state or in New York or something now. So he goes to show me the Great Lakes, and we go out to like this pier thing at like 3 o'clock in the morning maybe, and we look out, and it's this majestic, beautiful thing. It's just this expanding with this guy. Yes, me and this guy are still friends. This was a friend I had when I was like 20 to like 23, 24. And then we quit being friends, like, because he moved. I mean, that's basically what happened. He graduated. And that's the problem when you live in a college town. You make friends with a guy who goes to college, and then he goes away. So we go look at the Great Lake of Erie, you know, and then I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. I'm freezing. And for some reason, I have this fear that we're going to get murdered, and I have no idea why. I was very tense. So then we walk back to his car, and we're sitting in the car. We're pulling out of the parking lot, and I'm like, hey, man, you know what? Don't worry about tonight. I said, it's no big deal. I said, let's just move on. And he said, yeah, he goes, I don't remember. What did we fight about? What is this about? And I go, what? And he goes, I don't remember. What was the deal about? So then I had to explain to him what happened earlier when we fought over the car and the whole ordeal. Like, it's like he forgot it all happened. I mean, like, the last 2 hours did not happen. And I'm explaining to him, like, no, dude, this happened. You this girl from your high school, he was looking at me like I was making it up. And it didn't help my story. Yes, it wasn't Erie. This did happen in Erie. So I'm sitting there like, dude, what the hell do we do here? I'm like, how did you just forget everything that just happened? Goodbye, Don Draper. How did everything like this happen? Like, so we go back to the hotel, and we turn on the TV, and Season of the Witch is on, the third Halloween movie. At like 3 o'clock in the morning, it's on television. And we're watching on this little hotel TV. And he has all these muffins We have like muffins, and we have a fridge full of beer, and we have a bunch of muffins and like chocolate and snacks like that. He looked like Guillermo del Toro, my friend. He looked like the son of Guillermo del Toro. He had the same hair, glasses, size. I mean, it was very funny. I mean, he could do an impression of him. So we that was probably the worst, only in the sense that it created a lot of confrontations between us and tension. And everyone knows how crappy tension is. Now, if you're with a girl, that could maybe turn into something cool. But when you have a tension with one of your friends, like a guy like that, it's rough. Because we were just watching movies and having a good time. But then this freaking girl shows up and ruins it. She was our Marla Singer. You know? She Marla Singered the whole situation. And it just ruined the rest of the night, the vibe we had going. So we get up in the morning and he makes coffee. Like, he made me coffee to be nice. I knew eerie was eerie. I mean, why would you even call it that, right? So he hands me... yeah, muffins are amazing. So he makes me this coffee and we're having muffins. I have a bad feeling about this story. And then he kills me. No hobo guy, I don't have weed is my new favorite quote. Benicio del Toro, whatever his name is. No, Guillermo del Toro. The director. So he makes me coffee, and I'm like, this is really good coffee. Like, this pumpkin coffee, and he does the scene for Pulp Fiction. He goes, I know my coffee's good. Because I don't go to the store and buy the shit. I buy the good coffee. So he does the thing from Pulp Fiction, and then we went to the film festival that day, and we just didn't hang out that much. He went and saw some movies I didn't go see. I ended up talking to Brian O'Halloran for like 8 hours, and we hung out all day. I met Michael Baldwin that day from Phantasm. And we just, yeah. And by the end of that day, we kind of got along again. But the reason that was the worst film festival experience was just that the fun of going to a Comic-Con for me, or to a film fest or an event like that, was to go with some friend that has the same taste as me, and we could explore it, we could do these things together. It's fun. But then the mistake we made here was that there was other people that he knew, and it came in, and it clearly brought stuff back up from his past that was tough for him, and it just affected the rest of the weekend. So it kind of just ruined everything to where, like, you know, I'm looking at a lake at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm pissed. Like, I'm pissed at it. Anyway, Paddington 2. $5.5 million at the box office this weekend, $32 million domestic, foreign $153 million. This is Paul King's follow-up to his surprise gem, Paddington, the first movie, which is one of my favorite family films of the last 10-20 years. That film made $268 million on a $55 million budget, $191 million of that was internationally. It doesn't look like Paddington 2 is going to be able to reach the domestic total of the first film. This film cost $50 million, but if it breaks $200 million worldwide, it should make a neat little profit. This is the best reviewed film in Rotten Tomatoes history, according to them, I guess. It has a 100% rating with 173 views and an 8.6 average. Hugh Grant's getting a lot of claim for this. Maybe we could see a couple Oscar nominations. I love Paul King. He worked on the show Mighty Boosh. I love the first film. I can't wait to see this film. I'm going to see it very soon. I've heard this film's even better than the original. How do you do that? A nice little thing of trivia. Paul King almost directed Wonder before Steven Chbosky was actually hired. But anyway, yeah, Paddington 2, awesome. Glad it's doing well worldwide. Unfortunately, in the States here, I don't know if it's marketing or because they don't release those films during Christmas. It just doesn't work. Why didn't he remember? I don't know. I don't know what happened. He just lost his memory at some point. We were in the car and he forgot the entire thing that happened. I don't know why. I mean, that's what really made me angry, was that I had to explain the whole story. Like, the story I just told you guys, I had to tell him after it happened to both of us. I mean, gee, I could have been snorting coke with Sean Patrick Flannery. I could have asked him about Powder. Hey, man, you worked with Victor Salva. What the hell happened on that set? I gotta know. And you worked with Goldblum. The Shape of Water, $5.7 million, 160% increase. This is in 1,800 theaters, $51 million worldwide. This film cost $20 million. This is Del Toro's best reviewed film since Pan's Labyrinth. It also seems like it's going to be one of his films in a long time to actually make a profit. And he's currently the front runner for Best Director. Den of Thieves, which had a surprisingly decent opening weekend, is at $28 million domestic. That is a 2 hour and 20 minute long movie. 12 Strong, which was our movie of the film of the week last week that we picked, is at $29 million. After that surprisingly okay opening weekend, it's dropping pretty bad. I mean, that's not a terrible drop. What is it, like 49%, 45%? But they would want something in the 20s. Oh, and that good old Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon should be in everything. The Post from Steven Spielberg, 24% drop, $8.8 million. $83 million worldwide on a $50 million budget. I don't think it's made a profit yet, especially domestically, but there's still time. But you would figure a Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep film would have been a lock for $100 million. I am kind of surprised how poor this is performing. People don't seem to like journalism movies or newspaper movies. Spotlight wasn't a big hit either. It just doesn't seem to be a genre people are into nowadays. The Greatest Showman. Let's talk about this amazing movie and its amazing performance. Not an amazing movie in the sense that I love it as a movie, but you got to see Paddington. It's amazing. It's amazing. Show me on the doll where he touched you. But anyway, The Greatest Showman. Yeah, this film made $9.5 million this week. This is crazy. This film's opening weekend was $8.8 million. And let's just look at this. I've talked about this for a few weeks, but this is an amazing performance. The weekends after that, $15 million, $13 million, $12 million, $10 million, and then this weekend, $9 million. Last weekend, it made $10.6 million. This weekend, $9.5 million. Any studio would kill for numbers like that. Just for holds like that. This is a film that looked like it could be a blockbuster. It looked like it could be a hit. Hugh Jackman was behind it, the writers of the La La Land music. Zac Efron in and everything. It seemed like maybe this could be a hit. And man, that opening weekend was abysmal. And everybody wrote this movie off as a bomb. I wrote it off as a bomb. It's like, oh, I guess this is a disaster. But Jesus, this is not a disaster. Hugh Jackman coming off the massive success of Logan. This has just got to be word of mouth. I haven't seen this movie, but people must be loving it. There must be a demographic. I don't know if it's women or something like that. This could make more than Les Mis did domestically. Les Mis ended up at like $148 million. This could reach La La Land's $150 million. I thought it would tap out at $130, but I'm not doubting this movie anymore. Look, it only dropped $1 million. This movie has a long run, and it's not done. It's not close to being done. I mean, we could look at it this way. Next weekend could be $7 million. And it would be close to 140. The weekend after that could be 5, and then 4, and then 3. I mean, this is definitely make $150 million. Your story, man, it should be made into a movie. Eerie. Just call it Eerie. That's really funny. They don't read newspapers, so why would they care about how they get made? That's a good point, actually. They should make a movie about social media bloggers. They say Paddington 2 is sublime and answers questions about existence that you didn't even know you had needed answering. I hear it is life-changing. I hear it's a great film. It transcends the kid genre. But still, for an 8, this is one of the biggest multipliers. This might be the biggest multiplier 2017. The fact that it opened at $8 million and it looks like it's going to get to 150. And it was a wide release film out of the gate. This wasn't a film that started limited. Hopefully it can make $300 million worldwide. I'm happy for Hugh Jackman. That's an impressive performance. Hostiles, $10.2 million. Christian Bale, Batman's in this one. Rosamund Pike, Ben Foster, the great Ben Foster, directed by Scott Cooper, who is probably best known for Crazy Heart, and then he did Out of the Furnace and Black Mass with Johnny Depp. But Crazy Heart's the one that Jeff Bridges finally won the Oscar for, and then he kept doing this voice for the next 10 years. All of his movies, he started talking like this, man. But yeah, $12 million. You know, this is actually not a bad opening weekend for what this movie is. I thought this would open a lot worse. Like, don't get me wrong, like it's not a great opening, but I thought that would just open like a total bomb. Jumanji, welcome to the jungle. Once again, great hold for Jake Kasdan's film. This is one of the most massive hits of 2017. $16.4 million, 15% drop. This film is at $338 million domestic, $484 million foreign, $822 million worldwide. What is there to say? This film cost $90 million. It's the biggest film like this for Kevin Hart, Jack Black, The Rock, any of them. Because The Rock is big films or franchise films like Fast and the Furious. This being kind of there, because it is a Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart comedy vehicle. That's what this is. And this has to be outperform every expectation they had. I can't imagine the studio thought this film was going to make... I mean, they would be happy if $338 million was the worldwide total for this movie. They would be happy if $484 million was the worldwide total. They would be happy with that. They'd make a sequel, probably. But the fact that it's one of the biggest movies of the year, and it's up there with a Marvel movie, and it costs so much less than a lot of these movies, it's just mind-blowing. I mean, look at this. Jumanji's now cracked the top 10. It's the 9th biggest film of the year, worldwide. I mean, it's freaking Jumanji. Jumanji's the one that did it, and it's awesome. That's a great performance. And then you have Thor, Guardians, Wolf Warrior, which is mainly a Chinese release, Spider-Man, Despicable Me. So it's in all these films that seem like way bigger properties and bigger franchises. So the fact Jumanji's able to make this kind of money, I mean, I've been talking about this for a few weeks. It was our featured film of the week, not too long ago. But I like this movie. I actually like this movie quite a bit. I thought it was really fun. So what are you saying is Paddington 2 is better than Transcendence? Yeah, that's definitely true. But yeah, amazing total here for Jumanji. Like, holy crap. I mean, at 16.4, this is going to make over $350 million. It's still got a ways to go. And then worldwide, God, I mean, who knows? I mean, if this film had a shot at $1 billion. I mean, it really did. This could have made $1 billion. It's so close. It makes you wonder about the sequel. I don't know if this was just lightning in the bottle and it won't happen again. Crazy. Anyway, let's go to the Box Office Addict movie of the week, the featured film of the week. Maze Runner 3, or Maze Runner, The Death Cure. This film's open at $23.5 million. This has a $62 million budget. Let's see if the composer worked on the previous films. Yes, The Maze Runner 1 surprisingly did well a few years ago. Had a $34 million budget, directed by Wes Ball, who also directed the sequel. And then its opening weekend was $32 million, and it made $102 million domestic and $348 million worldwide, which I have to assume made a profit. This was that one with Dylan O'Brien, who was in that movie American Assassin. I kind of think he'd make a good Robin, maybe, in a Batman in the DC movies. But yeah, this film had to have made a good profit. It actually did really well. So of course they made a sequel to this YA franchise. And the sequel, it cost $61 million, had a $30 million opening weekend, and made $81 million domestic, but it made $312 million worldwide. So, of course, it made a profit, too. So, this is doing a lot better than, like, the Insurgent franchise, which ended up doing so bad they quit making those movies because they were losing so much money. Now we have this film, which has a $23 million opening weekend, only about $1 million more than the previous film in budget, and this isn't as good as the previous two opening weekends, and I don't see it reaching the domestic total of either one of those films, especially the $100 million. But this could make $50-60 million domestically, depending on word of mouth. And if this can make $300 million worldwide again, then you could argue that overall this was a successful franchise. So Maze Runner, not a great opening weekend. They would have preferred like $33 million, but it shows that this franchise, unlike a lot of other YAs that aren't Harry Potter or Hunger Games, it didn't totally die off. A lot of these franchise, they make one of these like there was a point they were making these every year and they all bombed or they didn't have an impact. And I guess the Maze Runner franchise has a little bit of an audience, you know. I know nothing about the Maze Runner stuff. I don't know the books. I don't know the movies. So American Assassin was pretty good. It had some pretty good action scenes. Actually, Insurgent made me want to kill myself. Damn. Death Cure overperforming for a YA third outing, but not Jumanji overperforming. Hey, Pat. My only concern with the Dune reboot is that Legendary Pictures will likely do a horrible job at marketing the movie. Any thoughts? Possibly. They're just going to have to sell that one on name alone. Like, they're going to have to hope that Dune has hype. That they could somehow make people like, I have to go see the Dune movie. I'm trying to read some of your comments here real quick. Don't trust the Post. Okay. Alright, that's it. Alright. Maze Runner is way better than Divergent. I'm sure it is. Divergent looked like crap. Looked absolutely awful. So, I believe you. I believe you one. Alright, let's see if I missed anything here. Desolation. 10,000. I don't know what that is. Desolation of Smog? Florida Project, still kind of at its tonal. Downsizing, still a bomb. Disaster Artist is pretty much done. Mary and the Witch's Flower from Studio Ghibli. 137,000 at a 60% drop. Americans still don't like anime, especially the mainstream. Let's see. All the Money in the World, the Ridley Scott film, that's pretty much done. 41 million worldwide. I believe that film has a $50 million budget, so, yeah, that didn't really work out. Ferdinand, let's see where that's at worldwide. That got a Best Animated Feature Oscar nomination over Lego Batman movie. 255 million. Molly's Game from Aaron Sorkin is at 25 million. 25.9 to be exact. And I don't see anything else here that I can miss out on. Oh, so let's talk about Black Panther real quick, because this is an article I want to talk about. So the tracking came in for Black Panther, and as of right now, it's ahead of Civil War, which opened to 179 million. But here's the thing to talk about. If you look at Marvel debuts, I need to find Thor Ragnarok so I can look at the Marvel films. Okay. If you look at Marvel debuts, the biggest debut for a while was Iron Man 1. Now, adjusted for ticket price inflation, that's still probably true. The first Iron Man opened to 98 million in 2008. But if you look after that, it was like the sequels, and then Captain and Thor both opened at 65 million. Then you had the Avengers effect, where the Avengers came out. And then Iron Man 3 had 174 million. Then Thor and Cap both had bigger openings. And then Guardians opened at 94. Then you have Ant-Man 57, Civil War, once Doctor Strange was 85. So the biggest debut opening weekend for an MCU film was Spider-Man Homecoming. For a first outing film. Because he was introduced in Civil War, but this was his first standalone. Now, this film ended up becoming one of the biggest surprise hits. It had a lot of people took that opening weekend as a disappointment because, of course, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Spider-Man were going to open to 100 million. But this ended up holding really strong and making 334 million domestic. So this is up from Iron Man, even probably not with inflation, but still. So that was a really strong opening weekend. All three MCU films last year had $100 million plus opening weekends and made $850 million worldwide. Here we are with Black Panther, a character established in Civil War, and his opening is going to be $120 million. I think it'll be even higher than that. I think this film could open to $130 million. I'm sorry I got too deep and served in the war. I don't like any more the Post told me because I was just... But reality showed me war is the original bloom and bust in the economy. Black Panther is going to be pretty good, but not better than Iron Man. This is from Ryan Coogler, the director of Fruitvale Station and Creed, and stars Michael B. Jordan and Chadwick Boseman. But yeah, this is a bigger opening weekend than Doctor Strange and all those characters. It shows that the MCU brand is not diminished at all, and they're able to open a movie like this. I don't know if it's also bringing in a black audience that wouldn't typically go see every superhero film because this is the first big budget black superhero film. I mean, we had Meteor Man, and we had Blank Man, and we had Blade. Blade was pretty awesome. The Vampire Club scene, like, that was awesome. Spider-Boy was a disappointment. The Halloween film sounds stupid. So yeah, even if this opened at 100 million, that would be great, but I think this could have like a Suicide Squad opening weekend. So look out for Black Panther to make over 250 mil domestic and possibly like 650, 700 million worldwide. I don't know if it'll make 800 million worldwide because I don't know how far this is going to reach like Spider-Man did. But we'll have to wait and see. But the tracking's great, and just the thing to say here is keeping the brand secure and nurturing it correctly to where this film is going to have a great opening. There's also that thing where some journalist they would say they would give $300 if any reporter would ask Donald Trump about Wakanda, because I guess they would think that he would believe it's a real place, even though they're all writing articles about how Wakanda shows what Africa would be like if it wasn't for us. But never mind. Alright, so yeah, I want to just cover that because Black Panther, that opens up the thing. So that comes out in February, so let's throw it out. What do you guys think will be the opening weekend for Black Panther? Let's leave that in the comments section. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. One of the best lines ever. I did mention The Last Jedi. I talked about The Last Jedi earlier. I talked about how it wasn't going to make as much money as The Force Awakens. And I talked about its worldwide total. And I talked about that its international total was disappointing. I mean, what else am I supposed to say about the movie? I'm kind of... yeah, I do these live. Of course I do them live. F it, we're doing it live. Black Panther might suffer like Wonder Woman. Foreign markets will probably do the racism thing. I mean, that is the thing. It is scary. That is I didn't mean to ruin your Black Panther party. They just can't leave politics out of movies, don't they? Yep. They shoot horses, don't they, Bathory? Blade 3. Enough said. Black Panther's probably going to do really well. I think it is too. I think that it feels fresh to people because we haven't seen, even though we've seen all this stuff before, it's people we haven't seen like that, because the whole cast is like black outside of like Andy Serkis and a couple other people. I mean, it's filled with freaking black people. It's crazy. And it's like a $180 million movie. Journalists seem to have a rather weird fetishistic obsession with Donald Trump. No, that's a good point. Wait, hold on. Let me check the chat. True, Wesley Snipes is old, but I mean... Oh man, I would love Wesley Snipes as Blade again. Please, can we get that Blade HBO series for Marvel? I know you want it. Get the Last Jedi out there. Yes, let the hatred, fuel, anger run through you. Alright, what do you guys want me to say about The Last Jedi? I mean, that I haven't said. Let me bring up something new. I guess that isn't in all of my Last Jedi videos and all of the rants and back and forth and all the people that get mad at me and all that stuff like that. Let's see, what's there to discuss? Well, Ryan Johnson online all the time, responding to these things and being very, I don't want to say jerky about it, but like something like that. But he's being like a teenager-ish. He's trying to act like a troll, and they're writing articles like Ryan Johnson brilliantly trolls fans and stuff like that. It's like, well, this is an exciting time. I love that the director of this movie's trolling people who don't like it. That's a great headline for the future of the Star Wars brand. That's what we all want. It's like, yeah, F being together and liking the movies. Right. But one thing that I was thinking about, at least with the movie, was the idea that the movie is a movie that if you rewatch it several times, that it gets better. Like if you see it a second, third, fourth time, it just gets better. It's almost like those people are saying that they have to convince themselves it's a good movie. Like you can do that with so many movies. You could watch a movie you know is not good and be critical of it. Your first impression's usually pretty dead on, I find. But then the more you watch it, you just start making excuses for the flaws, and then you're like, well, it doesn't really matter anymore. I can just watch it as a movie. Which is fine, but then you're not really breaking it down. You're just living in this illusion thing about what the movie is now. You've made your own completely subjective view of the film, which is fine. That's what you're supposed to do. But they get mad if you're critical of something and it's a subjective criticism. You know, it's like they don't think there's validity to being subjective with you. Like, I don't like how Luke's portrayed. Now, you can explain why you don't like why Luke is portrayed too, but they don't like sometimes when you just say this sucks. You know, it's weird, yet they don't ever have a good explanation for why it's good. Everything that they explain is like this. You're just making all of this up. You're just writing out paragraphs of stuff. You're just making things up to make this movie sound better than it is. You're adding all this depth that's not in this movie. This film's not that complex. Like, the comprehension level to understand the film is for a young age. You're writing this out like it's frickin' Shakespeare, like you're watching Hamlet or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous, you know? It's... Or like, yeah, well... Like, this isn't Chekhov, you know? It's not... It's... Ryan Johnson isn't one of the greats. But I hate that attitude. But the thing with the movie that I don't particular like, outside of Canto Bite and all that stuff, I hate living in illusion. The more I watch movies, I either like them less or keep the same opinion. What you're saying is pretty much like the 50 Shades Freed. So essentially justifying the purchase. They're justifying the movie's existence and flaws. Pat, I thought it was very predictable that Dante would betray the Resistance. But one thing I was thinking about was DJ, how pointless that character is, and honestly, I never really went into it fully how contrived it is. Like they go to look for, and I know everyone's talked about this, but it's really crazy when you think about it. Instead of getting some cool, like, James Bond stuff with Finn and Rose, where they go to this planet and they find this guy and they have to play a poker game and convince him to help them, they go to this place, they see the rose thing, they see the flower thing on his lapel, they see the lapel, then they get taken into a thing for a parking violation into prison, and Benicio del Toro's character's just randomly there waiting for them, and he just opens the door and lets them out. Why did he wait to open the door until they showed up? What's that about? Why is he in there? What was he the character was he the code breaker and he lost a gambling? He lost a bet to Justin Trudeau's character, not Justin Trudeau, Justin Theroux's character that shows up for 5 seconds. Like it's when you actually think about it, it's horrible writing. He's just really in that cell for the reason for a contrived screenplay to show up so they can get out of there, because Rian Johnson didn't know how to get them out of there. Like, why couldn't they go there and meet the guy with the lapel, have a poker game? Finn's got to go undercover, and they work together and Rose tries to wear a dress and she's unconfident, she can't do this, and they're having a rough time. She's like, God, I don't know what to do and all that. And because that's totally where I thought it was going, that they were gonna, like, he was gonna go get a tuxedo and all that, because I thought, oh, the subplot's gonna have more to it. But instead, they spend that time with, like, him looking through the telescope at the child abuse and the last guardian creatures, and it becomes all about that. And Benicio del Toro, yeah, why is he waiting in there? Why is he waiting for them? Why does he give a crap about them? Why is he being so helpful? Like, what's with this character? He just shows up as a subtext point. Like, he shows up to be like, hey, I'm here to push home these things about war, that both sides are bad and good and evil's just perspective, and I'm here to screw you guys over, to make you fail and all that. And it's like, yeah, but he just shows up. It's not like when they go meet Han, because it makes sense, they need Han for what they're trying to do. So it's like, okay, and then they have the conversation at the bar. In this movie, Finn and Rose, the parking violation only happens because Rian Johnson chooses that to happen. He goes, okay, they're going to park here and I'm going to give them a parking violation because screw it. I can do that. And then I'm going to set up the code breaker, but it's not who you think it is because I'm going to subvert your expectations. I'm going to have this random cameo from Justin Theroux. I don't know why. And then he leaves that, and then he's like, okay, they're going to go to prison for a parking violation, because if you have a parking violation, you go to jail. You go to jail, I guess, in this universe. They don't, like, give you a ticket and say, hey, can you move your ship? They lock you up. They lock you up with a guy that's in there, and he's just like, hey, you guys went out, I'll get you guys out. I mean, Rogue One had this, where they just end up in prison with these guys, and those are the characters they need to meet for the story. It's contrived there, too. But Jesus, DJ, it's ridiculous. Like, so, yeah, then the droid shows up, and BB-8 shoots all the coins out. Oh, my God. And then he shows up to save them later. His character shows up to save them later, and then takes them. Then he uses her thing, and then he gives it back to her like he's a nice guy, and then he betrays them at the end. So it's like, wait, what? That character only exists in the story to keep pushing subversion and keep twisting the knife. He's like the double agent character in Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That terrible character that's like, I'm a double agent. I'm an agent. I'm a double agent. He just keeps turning on a whim. Oh, I'm a bad guy, but I have a heart of gold. Oh, actually, I'm a good guy. Here's your necklace back from your sister. Oh, no, I'm actually a gray character, because everything's gray now. Just like all the kids. Like, you can push the gray stuff home with Finn or with Poe or Rey. You don't need to introduce a new character out of nowhere to read. You don't need to introduce Latino Lando. And, he just betrays them like Lando did, too. It's just doing Empire Strikes Back. There's nothing new. Rose is crap. They literally did all of the work for... That's the thing. They go to this planet for nothing. They get arrested. They meet this guy randomly that is not the guy they were supposed to meet. He ends up being the guy, and this is never explained in a clever way, like he lost the poker... He lost his lapel to the other character. He joins up with them as like their Han Solo, Lando, or whatever. He helps them out sometimes. He sneaks on the ship with them. And then when he gets money... Why would the Empire just not shoot him in the back? Like, he's like, hey, I'm going to take this money and stuff. Why wouldn't Hux or Kylo just kill that guy? They have no reason to be loyal with the money or help that guy out. Who is this guy? Why do they care? Why don't they just torture him? I mean, it doesn't make any... His character makes no sense. It's so badly written and contrived, and like, he shows up and he's a small character, but he's a great example of what's wrong with the whole movie. The whole movie. A lack of internal logic and consistency. It's just introducing these things, because Rian Johnson goes, this is for style points, or this is something I'm trying to push home thematically. I want this to be a theme in the movie with these characters. There's subtext. This is what it's about. It's about failure and don't love your heroes, and there's a grayness, and it's anti-war profiteering and all that. But you don't need this new character that feels like his arc and his story's going somewhere, and he has something to happen, and he ends up really being nothing. It's just, once again, that gray failure thing. He tells him, like, yeah, maybe you're right, I don't know. And then Finn fights and is a rebel at the end, because, yeah, they're rebels. They quit saying resistance because Rian Johnson forgot that they're not the rebels. I guess he just started writing that and kept it in the script or something. But it doesn't, yeah, DJ, I love Benicio del Toro, and I don't dislike his performance, but the fact that he just show up randomly just so they can get out of the situation they're in, that they're locked up, when it could all be avoided, and there's so many other ways for them to meet character like that would be interesting and funny and engaging, it ends up not working because none of the logic makes sense, and none of it makes any sense. Even for Star Wars, you're kind of sitting there going, none of this really works. And if it did work, then there wouldn't be an issue. Like, if his character was organically incorporated into the movie, and if he came in as, like, you found out, he's like, yeah, I actually lost to that guy, and they're like, wait, you're the code breaker? He's like, yeah, that guy took my stuff, and they're like, oh my god, what the hell are you doing in here? He's like, I gambled all my money away, you know, I lost my life, and you get to know him a little bit, right? And it's not about, he can't just break them out magically because Rian Johnson is a wizard with the script. Maybe they all work together to figure it out, and they do something with the guard, and they make a plan. BB-8 helps them escape. And then he shows, like, yeah, I can do this stuff with you guys. I can help you deactivate that thing. And, yeah, instead, it's just him having these little discussions with Finn about war, and then it's all to push home Finn, I guess, dying for nothing, ultimately, when he's driving into the cannon, is what their argument is that Rose saves him from dying for nothing because he believes he's dying for a cause for the rebellion, but that's just something he's convinced himself. And she's showing him that his life has value. But I don't know if that really matters anyway, because everyone they know is about to die. That's the problem. All these things that people tell me, like, well, this explains Rose and Finn. They never want to hear it. None of that works because they're all about to die. All of those points you make don't work because in the context of that film in that moment, that cannon's about to kill everyone. So when they say, well, we get no sense that Finn crashing into the cannon would have done anything. Yes, but we do get the sense that it would have killed everyone else. So suicide's the only option at that point. There's literally no other option for those characters at that point. No one showed up. They're going to die. But once again, Rian Johnson writes himself in a corner, and then he goes, how do I deal with this? They're about to get killed by this cannon thing. Oh, I'll just subvert their expectations. Rose crashes out of Finn. It's not going to work. And then Luke's going to show up, but not in the X-Wing. No. He's going to show up as a force projection. And he's not going to fight Kylo. He's just going to stall time. Can you believe the big final cinematic set piece of this movie is Rey moving rocks? Can you believe the big moment, the big final moment, the emotional great moment of this movie is Rey's character moving rocks out of the way so they can get on the Falcon? What? Like, what the hell? Rian Johnson's like, man, people are so going to get into this rock moving scene. This is going to be some emotional stuff. And it's not even me hating Rose totally or the whole Canto Bight conceptually. I think you could have done something with that subplot. But just right there, like, DJ's character and how it all ties together doesn't work. And the whole movie, it ruins the whole foundation of the movie. Because that stuff's like 20 minutes of the movie, 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And if you just cut DJ's character out and all that crap, and you kept it more about Finn, or maybe Finn and Poe going to Canto Bight, you got a better movie. You just have a tighter, better movie. It's just tighter. Too many new characters overstuffed. Not enough dramatic focus on the people that we want to get to know more. Remember when Snoke was supposed to be like Mace Windu and 10 times worse than Palpatine? Yeah, Rian Johnson said he's stronger than Darth Vader. He's stronger than Palpatine. It's like, well, he dies just as easily as any of those characters. Rian Johnson hates Star Wars. Rose should have been the hacker, but maybe that's too progressive for Kennedy. Yeah, I said that in my video. If Rose had been the code breaker, that would have helped the script be a lot tighter. Okay, I don't want this to run this long. I was going to end this at 90 minutes, and now we're coming up on 2 hours, and that's bothering me. I didn't want to go this long. I was almost done at 90 minutes. Also, I got to go eat some food, so I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for watching this week of Box Office Addict. I loved all the new people who came in and all the old regulars. I'm glad Bathory was actually here this week doing her damn job. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, you think I pay you nothing for you to show up like this? I'm going to send you a paycheck. I'm sending her a paycheck. And it's going to be 0. And I'm going to sign it and everything. It's just going to be zeros. Just so you know what you're worth. Bathory's like the Rose to my Finn. She's like a fangirl that showed up one day. It's like, oh my god, I love you, Pachan, and I want to follow you and be your little sidekick and talk about all the box office stuff. Here, I found this article for you. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I let her tag along. But then when I try to do something cool, she crashes into me. She can't help herself. Terrible person. Yeah, do your damn job. Mute all of these people, Bathory. Why do you think I hired you to keep this chat quiet? Quiet. Keep in mind that a week ago prior, if that, Rey never used the Force in her life and had no idea what it is. A week later, I know. Within like a week, she goes from like, what's this Force stuff? Luke Skywalker's real? And then it's like a week later, she's like, I know everything about this stuff. Pat, you've taken a good step to the dark side today. Wait, was I supposed to get paid? You hack. Yes, you're supposed to get paid nothing. Because that's what you are. Nothing. You know what second place gets? A set of steak knives. Because you gotta have balls, Bathory. You gotta have brass balls. Alright? Anyway, thank you for watching. And if you're watching this, you're a box office addict yourself. And I'm not here to help you get over your addictions. I'm here to encourage them. Because I want you to keep watching. When you slam your subs. I know, guys. What am I doing here? I'm slamming my subs. What am I going to do? It's so bad. Bathory didn't even know what the Force was. I know. When you slam your subs. Somebody unsubbed for me like a week ago and wrote this huge paragraph out. I put it on Twitter. And their whole thing was about how I disagreed with them or told them something. And they were like, you can't argue with your subs. You can't tell me... You have to be nice and cordial to me. You can't be this way. And I'm like, hey, dude, you subbed to me and I was an a-hole? I don't... I hate how people say we need the casino seed for Broom Boy at the end. I know, you don't need that. You could have that kid introduced earlier. You could have the kid already in the story. He could have been on the ship. Yeah, coffee is for closers, Bathory. Moderation is for closers. I give Bathory pennies that I make off my underrated classics videos. I give her the pennies from there. A set of steak knives. That's exactly... Yeah, who doesn't want a set of steak knives? I see your Schwartz is just as big as mine, Lone Star. Wonderful. Be yourself, love each other, and don't hurt anybody. Okay, cool, bye.